With Europe in the middle of its worst energy crisis in decades, politicians are being forced, as we mentioned, to look at those alternatives. Germany's leaders say the country may need to extend the life of nuclear plants if it cannot replace all its gas imports from Russia. For more, we are joined by Birgit Jennen, our Berlin bureau chief. Birgit, where do things stand in terms of what policymakers in Berlin are looking at a point where you've got 78% capacity filled in terms of gas storage? What are the alternatives and how actively are policymakers looking at them?
Well, I mean, the government is heavily looking at alternatives. Scholz is currently in Canada, and it is exactly in this context that he is basically trying to get help from Canada in providing LNG in the almost near to medium-term future. But really, talks with international partners have been extremely difficult. We have been talking with some people in the government, and they say that talks with Qatar has run into a deadlock. The same thing is with Norway. Norway has been extending its gas production and gas deliveries, but it's also at a maximum. And Canada is also at the moment not willing really or politically able to kind of deliver LNG because it would mean a turnaround in their environmental policy. So it is a bit of a scramble at the moment for the government, and therefore the government is seriously looking at keeping maybe the nuclear plants running for a while.
Birgit, talk to us. We focus so much, of course, on the UK cost of living crisis. What's it like in Germany? Is there more support than other parts of Europe that the government has to put in place? And what also does that mean for Olaf Scholz's popularity?
We already see that his popularity is really going down. I mean, he is been traveling during the summer break through the countryside, particularly in eastern Germany. And last week, we actually had seen sort of the first really outbreak, aggression against Scholz at events. So the mood is clearly changing, and he's very well aware. He has been the government, but has no chance then to pass on some of the extra costs to the consumers, but it's just not enough. I mean, his basically client, his electorate is particularly hard hit because it reaches the low-income earners. So he is, and the government is looking at some form of compensation, but we have to see where the mood is turning during the winter.
OK, so looking potentially at compensation, the political hit there, of course, for the German Chancellor. When it comes to the question of nuclear, Birgit, what is the process in terms of getting this online? There's a deadline, isn't there, for this industry, and how much pressure is coming from industry leaders on this front?
There is certainly pressure in terms of securing Germany's energy supply, because the industry is really concerned that they have to get into regulated rationing. Obviously, that would give a major hit to the economy. So the procedure is that by the end of this month, early next month, the government has done its review, and they are looking at whether where basically nuclear could make a contribution. Because you have to keep in mind the government and the energy crisis is largely an electricity crisis. So and the nuclear is basically not exactly giving making the necessary energy supply needed, because what Germany is needing at the moment is gas. And so basically the government says now, while it probably only contributes a minimal bit to the energy situation, that might be the stroke which is needed to get over the winter.